Well. Good evening, mesdames et messieurs. How are you guys doing? I hope you're all well. I see we've got a couple of hundred of you watching. Please make sure you've hit the like button. I have to do these cliche, rubbish YouTube introductory phrases. Smash the subscribe button, blah, blah, blah. If you're interested, you're interested. You're not, you're not. So we have a lot to talk about. First order of business, where are you guys tuning in from? Please tell me in the comments. Which city, which state, which country, which town, which planet, which universe, which dimension you are watching from. That would be great. That would be wonderful. And Sarah is the first to compliment my beautiful plaque behind me. Thank you. You're very kind, Sarah. We have Austin, Texas. We have Ireland. You'll be enjoying this segment today. Puerto Rico, Alberta, Massachusetts, Justin Trudeau land. Everybody guess, which country is that? Cardiff, Austin, Texas, Serbia, Toronto, Los Angeles, UK, Los Santos, Sweden, Canada, Queensland, Iran, Mar-a-Lago, Canada, Egypt. Bella is writing from the Queen's coffin. You're very cheeky, aren't you? Colorado, Brazil, Dublin, Portland, Somalia, Maryland, Brazil, El Salvador. This is great. Isn't this great? That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I can just tick off every bloody country. So, what should we talk about, and how should we talk about it? Because this Queen's death is multifaceted, isn't it? I didn't say fascinating. I said multifaceted, right? Meaning there's a lot of shit to dig through. Oh Christ. I'm not even kidding, man. How about we start with... Oh, actually, wait. I have an announcement. This is a public service announcement. Okay, so just let me do this one first. I'll do the announcement first, which is... There we go. Okay. So this is a public service announcement. I just want to use my platform and bring attention to the fact that there will be a human chain forming around Parliament on October 8th. Okay, so this is in support of Julian Assange, who is, one of the biggest journalists who's imprisoned in the UK. And here is the campaign from Don't Extradite Julian Assange. Don't Extradite Assange, DEA. So this is the announcement. October 8th, make your way to the Houses of Parliament and form a human chain. It's really that simple. It's 1 p.m. on Saturday, October 8th. All right, 1 p.m. Saturday, October 8th, Parliament Square. Be there or be square. No pun intended. But just wanted to bring your attention to that. Now, I caught a whisper that there might be some similar action happening in the US. The thing is, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there's a date for that. But regardless, I just wanted to bring your attention to this event that's happening in London, 1 p.m. Saturday, October 8th, for Julian Assange. So, let's move on to the Queen, with that said. By the way, I think Jeremy Corbyn will be attending. I've seen him at other ones, but in any case, oh boy. We've got 400 people watching. Please make sure that you've hit the like button, and thank you, Queena Lingus, for the donation. I appreciate it. Oh, I see Nyla's in the chat. Nyla said Washington D.C. on October 8th as well. Okay, so I don't know what time. Is it also 1 p.m.? Which time zone? Well, in any case, as soon as I know about the American one, I'll do another announcement as well. But I couldn't see it on the website, so I just to be safe, I just announced the UK one. Anyway, let's get through this rubbish, shall we? Oh Christ! Oh Christ! I need a drink. The Queen's dead, old boy. Yes, she passed away sadly. Here's a headline from the BBC. Queen Elizabeth II has died. The whole world is in mourning. people say, Mr. Richard Thomas Medhurst, you're British. Why aren't you mourning the Queen? And I say to you, who is she? I really want to know who this woman is and why she was just born into a ruling family and we're supposed to accept that. I do not understand this concept. Now, if you support monarchy, you're a royalist, at least own it. At least come out and say, yes, I love the Queen. I love King Charles. Again, who is this guy? I love King Charles. And I love all of the crap they did to the whole world, right? All the nasty misdeeds, massacres, genocides, occupations that the British Empire inflicted on the planet. Okay? But I'll get to that in a second, because now I just want to show you who our new king is. Apparently, this is our new king, apparently. I don't know who makes these decisions, but King Charles III, this is his first address. And mind you, he has a pretty good radio voice, right, as they say. I'll just play very briefly in random point.
Her dedication and devotion as sovereign never wavered through times of change.
Yes, boy, her dedication never wavered through times of change. So that's our new king, apparently. I want to show you all the ghouls who made it to the show. So during King Charles' proclamation, look who we have here. We have Tony Blair, the snake. We have Keir Starmer over here, who's now heading the Labour Party. We have Boris Johnson over there. I think this is Gordon Brown. I'm not sure though. Anyway, it's just a bunch of ghouls, right? Because usually, if you get there, if you're invited to these things, and I'm not saying everyone in the room is necessarily a ghoul, but this bunch certainly is. People have gone insane. Like if you are in England, you will see the Queen literally everywhere. I just want to show you this clip over here. Look at the Queen. This is in the tube in the London Underground. Okay, take a look. She's literally everywhere. They've plastered her face everywhere. And again, you might be thinking, well, yeah, of course she's the head of state. Fine, and I respond to you. Who elected her the head of state? Who made this decision that she's the head of state? I certainly didn't have a say in that. Everywhere, bloody everywhere. You cannot escape it. I can't tell if they're in support of the Queen or against her, but this mural is really something. People have gone so crazy. People have gone so bananas over the Queen. They are literally seeing things. They've literally gone nuts. Here's a headline from Metro that says that people have been spotting more Queen-shaped clouds during the moment of her death. I mean, I really don't know what to say. This is just embarrassing now. This is embarrassing. What? It's a cloud. It's a cloud, man. She's not a saint. She's not some godly figure. It's a cloud, dude. And the worst part is if you open your mouth, if you say something, right, like, hold on a second, I thought we're a democracy. Why do we have a queen? They'll shut you up. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say anything that makes sense because you will get arrested. I'm not even kidding. You have several people now that have been arrested in the UK for protesting the monarchy. Right? Now, in one case, there was a bit of heckling going on. I'll show you the video in a second. But look at this headline over here. This is from Global News. Say at least 3 people arrested over protests following Queen's death. Okay, so this is from Reuters originally. Scottish police said they have made 3 arrests in Edinburgh relating to breaches of the peace. Breaches of the peace. I mean, this sounds like something medieval because it is medieval. This is medieval. This is something from the 15th century. Breaches of the peace. Order! Order! Silence! You've been charged with breach of the peace. Do you have anything to say? Yes. Here's someone heckling Prince Andrew. Do you see this guy over here in the top right corner? So he was arrested. This woman, if I'm not mistaken, was also arrested, at least heckled by police, because she's holding up a sign that says, "Not my king." Here's a 22-year-old woman arrested after holding up this anti-monarchy placard at... so this is in Scotland as well, in Edinburgh, right? So she's been charged with breach of the peace. Her placard reads, "Imperialism..." Well, I think it says "fuck imperialism," and then "abolish monarchy," right? So, I mean, you can't talk about the Queen and then ignore imperialism. This is an oxymoron. This is a juxtaposition. You can't do this. You can't do this. If you love the Queen, then go ahead like an adult and own it and say, "I love the Queen and all of the shit that was done in our name, unfortunately, and with her as the figurehead." Do you understand? Right? The British Empire, who's the head of state? Who is our head of state? It's the Queen, right? Now it's King Charles. They are the figurehead. They represent all of these things. So if you're okay with that, you also have to acknowledge Britain's disgusting colonial past. And I mean, I cannot even begin to get through it. I found this very funny. The BBC, they posted a tweet saying, "We take a look back at Queen Elizabeth II's long-standing relationship with Africa." Relationship? What does that mean? Are you talking about the massacres in Kenya, or the diamonds that she wears that were stolen from Africa? What exactly is this relationship made of? What does it consist of, oh boy? And I can tell you that the British government and the Crown, yes, the Crown, take this very seriously. Because people think that, oh, you shouldn't say this now, and again, I'm not like, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I'm talking about the monarchy itself, not her particularly. Although, she is the longest reigning monarch in British history, so you have to focus on her and what happened when she reigned. And this is what happened. The British government began destroying documents, colonial files, to hide what Britain had done in its colonies. Okay? So, according to the National Archives and the Foreign Office, over 8,800 colonial-era documents have been eliminated by UK authorities in former colonies. The program was named Operation Legacy. I mean, it's really what it says on the tin. Operation Legacy. Whose legacy? Whose legacy is that? It's hers. It's Queen Elizabeth. It's her legacy. So this was in the 50s and 60s, right? All across the 23 British occupied countries and territories that eventually became independent after World War II. And they're listed here. I mean, it's literally too much to list, but, they told diplomats how to get rid of these files, and they had a station for burning these things with the Royal Navy base in Singapore and so on. So they take this very seriously. If there's nothing to hide, why were they destroying these documents? Doesn't make sense. I want to also talk about some of the crown jewels, right? Because right now, while the Queen lies in state at Westminster, they bring out all the crowns. She has 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken, right? And one of the most important is the Koh-i-Noor. I mean, Noor is light in Arabic. I suppose that's the root of Noor, and it means light. So that diamond, which you see here, that was stolen. The Great Star of Africa, that was also stolen. There's so many things. I mean, these are just a couple of examples. I literally do not have time to go through all of them with you because they are so outrageous. I just want to give you an idea. The Great Star of Africa, do you know how much that diamond is worth? $400 million. Let me say that again. $400 million. That's one diamond. I mean... And the funny thing is, you know what the Crown will say? They'll say, but these were gifted. We did not steal them. They were given as gifts. And then you have to ask the question, well, who gifted these things to you? Did they have permission to gift them? Did you threaten them? Were they coerced into gifting them? And then, of course, their whole narrative falls apart. And I don't need to, of course, bring your attention to all the things that we have locked away in London in the British Museum. I mean, just one example, of course, is the Rosetta Stone, right? This is crucial because it's helped archaeologists to go through hieroglyphics and so on, right? It's very important. It's just one example. I mean, there are so many countries that demand that we return all these things to them, the Greeks, the Egyptians, etc., etc. I mean, the list is literally too long. You know, I think after the Louvre, the British Museum is the largest in the world, and then you have the Met in New York, and of course, both of them are filled with stolen things. Now, aside from the stolen diamonds, so in addition to that, you have things like the massacres that took place in Kenya. I just want to read to you a little bit from The Guardian, okay? So, they talk about in this article about the suppression of Kenya's Mau Mau rebellion. All right? So, this is a study called Britain's Gulag, and it chronicles how the British had battled this anti-colonial uprising by confining 1.5 million Kenyans to a network of detention camps and heavily patrolled villages. I mean, detention camp, concentration camp, it's the same thing at this point. You know, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't take away the horrors of it. And I highlighted some other things here just to show you. In the British and Kenyan archives, meanwhile, there are documents missing, right? Or classified. So, many documents relating to the detention camps were either absent or still classified as confidential 50 years after the war. Okay, the British had torched documents before their 1963 withdrawal from Kenya. There were files about 80,000 detainees, and at a minimum there should have been 240,000 files, but there were only a few hundred left. So, I mean, you could more or less say the British destroyed 239,000 documents. I mean, again, when did this take place? 1963. Who was the Queen at that time? Queen Elizabeth. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, yes, I love the Queen and she's our head of state and she's our monarch and she represents us. And then when there's disgusting shit being done by British soldiers overseas, you say, oh no, we have nothing to do with that. The Queen has nothing to do with that. How dare you? You just said she's the head of state. You just said you love her. She represents us. Well, she represents this as well. Never forget that. And here's some pictures, right? I'm not sure how long I can show them to you because of the flagging, but here's some other lovely British crimes, right? Tripartite aggression against Egypt in 1956. So, of course, tripartite means the British, the Americans, and no, sorry, not the Americans. The Americans are the ones who actually put an end to it, and then they took over as the kingpin, right? But the Israelis, the British, and the French, they attacked Egypt. That's because of the Suez Canal crisis in 1956, and then Egypt was obviously occupied by the British as well. In Yemen, separation of the Yemeni population from the white colonists. I mean, this is like a drop in the water. Don't forget as well that, during the so-called decolonization, what did you have? You had the British, partitioning India into Pakistan, in a totally British way. And then, of course, before that, this is not when Queen Elizabeth was queen just yet, but right before she became queen, you had also Sykes-Picot before that in 1916-17. I mean, these are things that happened so long ago, and they're still affecting people to this day. So I think it's very unfair to just scoff at that and say, "Oh, I have nothing to do with that," right? That happened 70 years ago. I have nothing to do with that. Yes, you do. You do have something to do with it. You're enjoying the fruits of it, right? But let's focus on the Queen a second. Let's go back to the Queen and the royal family. Do you know how much money they have? The Queen dropped dead just now, and she had 500 million. That's what they tell us, right? That's what we know about. 500 million. I don't recall if it's pounds or dollars. That's kind of besides the point. The royal family, the whole royal family, $28 billion. How do you get $28 billion without screwing over people, without committing genocide, massacres, colonialism? You can't do that. You think those 28 billion fell out of the sky? They got 28 billion because they rented out some fucking cottage in Cornwall? Are you so stupid that you believe that? Come on. Look at this map, man. This is 1920. This is the height of the British Empire. 1/5 of the planet. 1/5 of the planet under British rule. That's a lot of stuff stolen. That's a lot of wealth stolen, and it went into the hands of the royal family. So don't come here and pretend like she's some innocent granny. She's not. She's not. I want to play you a clip now. This is from the Indian Foreign Minister. Listen to what he has to say.
I think a year ago, there was actually a very serious economic study which tried to estimate how much the British took out of India in value terms. And a very calculated math ended up, put a number of $45 trillion at today's value.
You heard that? He said $45 trillion. That's how much we took from India. Right? And of course, I don't need to tell you about the Industrial Revolution, of course, and then how the British, you know, you hear this theme always that, oh, we built railways for the Indians, like as if it was some kind of gift. No, the Indians paid for that. They had to buy British-made trains. So they were screwed over 50 times, you know. I mean, and all this money went to not just banks in England, but of course part of it went to the royal family.
India's share of the world economy when Britain arrived on its shores was 23%. By the time the British left, it was down to below 4%. Why? Simply because India had been governed for the benefit of Britain. Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its depredations in India. In fact, Britain's Industrial Revolution was actually premised upon the deindustrialization of India.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no other way to put it. And I want to be very clear. Queen Elizabeth II was England's longest reigning monarch. Okay? Since the 1950s, she's been the head of state, the Queen of England, the Queen of Jamaica, the Queen of this and that, right? The whole Commonwealth. She never apologized for one single British crime. Never. She never apologized. And so, you know, even if you want to make all these sorts of excuses about, oh, well, the money comes from the sovereign grant, and, oh, well, you know, this... No. She's the head of state. She represents Britain across the planet. What, you know, why is she going and visiting all of these African countries? Why is she going to visit to 20 African countries? Representing me, representing the rest of Britons. Why? She does that in our name, right? So she can also apologize. She never did that. She never ever did that. She refused to take this opportunity. And I think this is absolutely disgusting that people think that, oh, it's in bad taste to bring this up now. No. This is the perfect time. This is the fucking time to bring this up. It is the time. Do you understand? This is the moment to bring all of this up. And this madness that you see, this propaganda, this brainwashing, like her face plastered everywhere. I mean, Jesus Christ. You know how they make fun of North Korea all the time? Like as if, oh, they have, you know, the Koreans over there, they're weird and they have cult of personality and it's totalitarian. What the hell is this? This is not a cult of personality. Is this not a cult of personality? Blindly worshipping some woman who is stinking rich. Her family are obscenely, grotesquely rich. Money that comes from enslaved people, from plundered lands. What madness is this? What is this madness? And then people say, oh, well, she only has a symbolic role. I'm sorry, man, it's not symbolic. No, once again, she represents us. She represents us. She's the head of state. Every bill that goes through Parliament requires royal assent. And once again, they say, oh, but it's only symbolic. Hey, do they require royal assent or do they not? Does she have to sign the damn thing? She does. And then, of course, all these people that are being arrested now for protesting against the monarchy, you know why they're being arrested? Because the police have a lovely new bill that I was complaining about, and many people were complaining about, and I told you about this, I reported on this a million times, and we are, of course, talking about the Police, Crime, Sentencing, and Courts Act. So police can just come up and stop you for protesting, even if you're one person, because you're being a nuisance. You're making too much noise. Dude, that's the point of a protest. Anyway, I just want to go back and say that I think it's ridiculous that people want to absolve the monarchy. So not just Queen Elizabeth II, but Charles, all of them. Absolve the monarchy of any responsibility. This is outrageous. This is completely outrageous. And it's grotesquely incorrect and historically illiterate. And she never apologized, and we should not forget that. And right now, it's complete cult of personality and propaganda in Britain. Everyone at the BBC is wearing black, and it's 24/7 coverage. And the funeral hasn't even happened yet. They haven't even had the funeral, right? When other countries do this, people laugh at them, right? When they do this in Syria, they laugh at them. Oh, look at them. They're all mourning. Half is left. Oh, look in North Korea. And then when they do it in Britain, oh, the Queen. You've been had. You've been had. Wake up. Something else that comes to mind? Something else that comes to mind with all this hypocrisy and all this propaganda about, you have to mourn the Queen, and if you don't, you're a terrible person. I want to show you our current Prime Minister right now, Liz Truss. This is her when she was a young girl. This is what she had to say about the Queen.
I'm not against any of them personally. I'm against the idea that people can be born to rule. That people, because of the family they're born into, should be able to be the head of state of our country. I think that's disgraceful.
Well done, Tris. Well done, madam. I'm so glad. I'm so glad we see eye to eye. Yes. Here's Liz Truss in 1994 as a Liberal Democrat.
We do not believe that people should be born to rule, or that they should put up and shut up about decisions that affect their everyday lives. We met another group of people and another group of people, and all three groups of people said, abolish the monarchy. In fact, conference, we couldn't find a single monarchist outside the Royal Pavilion. We do not
It's just last week that she was in Balmoral in Scotland with the Queen, right? And this is again funny to me because they say, well, the Queen, she only has a symbolic role. It's only symbolic. Yeah, except that she has to sign every goddamn bill that goes through Parliament. And every new government that is formed in Parliament, guess what? The Prime Minister, the incoming Prime Minister, has to go to the Queen and shake hands, and they have to sit down, have a talk, and then they can form a new cabinet, right? And that's what happened. Liz Truss last week was with the Queen, and now she gave some eulogy, and the Queen. She was singing a different tune when she was a young girl, wasn't she? Just saying. I'm just saying. We've got 800 of you watching. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Here's something else that caught my attention, which I think you'll find rather funny. You know what? Before I go on, we're gonna have a poll. We are gonna have a little poll right here in the YouTube chat. All right, and I'm gonna ask you what Liz Truss, the British Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, what you just said, and she said abolish the monarchy, and I'm gonna ask you, should we abolish the monarchy? What do you guys think? Yes or no? There you go. I've launched the poll, and the question has gone out into cyberspace. Go ahead and vote right now in the YouTube chat. So, let me continue where I left off. Oh, you guys are... You've already exploded in the chat and said yes. I cannot even... Everybody's saying yes, we should abolish the monarchy. There's too many yeses there. No, but I'm fucking stupefied, man. Who is this woman? Who are these people? I don't understand this. I don't even know who Liz Truss is. And Braverman, who's the new Home Secretary, and all these people. Who are they? Most people in the UK do not even know who is in their government. And I'm just confused because I see these people coming in, they have huge powers, right? And they govern like shit. They screw everybody over. They don't even work really as MPs. Being an MP is their side job. That's their side gig. It's like people in Congress, right? In the US. Being a congressperson is their side job. Their main job is getting that corporate money. You feel me? For some reason, I don't see the poll having gone through. I'm really angry now. I expect MI6 has something to do with that. I'm going to refresh the page and hope that my poll has gone in. Come on, guys. Don't be so mean. I'm going to launch it again. Should we abolish the monarchy? Hold on. There we go. It's gone through. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I've sent the poll through. Okay, so I wanted to move on to the next segment. Let's continue. Let's proceed. So Tucker Carlson had something to say about the Queen's passing. Shall we take a look at his opinion?
The British Empire was more than just genocide. In fact, the British did not commit genocide, except arguably against the Dutch during the Boer War.
Oh my god, man. It hasn't even been 7 seconds. I've already got to stop him. What are you talking about? What does that mean? Does he know how many Indians that were killed? Kenyans? How many people we put in they like to call them detention camps, internment camps, they're concentration camps, the same thing, right? My god. Who taught you history, man?
The British did give the world the Magna Carta and habeas corpus and free speech.
Yes, the free speech that gets you arrested if you protest the monarchy. That free speech, if you go and I'm not kidding, right? I just showed you several people have been arrested for protesting the monarchy, and they're charged with breach of the peace, which sounds, as medieval as it sounds.
They helped end the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the ritual murder of widows.
Oh, God, man, this guy's funny. Yes, Tucker, that's true. We were the first to end slavery. Do you know, however, that we were participating in the transatlantic slave trade before that? Did you forget this? Yes? Did you, that kind of slipped your mind? What about the fact that even after slavery was abolished, people in America, in the United States, right, in the colonies over there, they were actually continuing to operate plantations to own slaves, and how would they finance and fund this? With lenders from England. So even though slavery was abolished in England, people there were still financing slavery overseas. So again, this is a moot point. It's not entirely accurate, is it?
In India, the British Empire spread Protestant Christianity to the entire world.
Oh my God!
It published some of the.
Oh Christ! Yo, man, you need to stop, man. You need to stop. I'm gonna be very straight up, man. I'm gonna be very straight up. The kind of Christianity that Britain spread is not really Christianity, right? Like how it's practiced in how it's supposed to be practiced in the Levant, where it actually comes from, in Syria and Palestine. It's a completely different Christianity. It's a Christianity that is molded and formed to fit white supremacy. It's nothing to do with what Jesus taught. It's nothing to do with Christian values. That I don't think that he understands what Christianity, in quotation marks, the British spread. It's not a very nice one. You understand? Wow, God, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Really.
The greatest literature ever written, and produced the finest manufactured goods ever made anywhere at any time, including now.
Yes, Tucker, I wholeheartedly agree with you. We make lovely cars and planes in England. The Industrial Revolution, how do you think that was financed? The trains that were built in England were forced upon Indians, right? Because you hear some people say, people that think colonialism is great, say, yeah, well, Britain, in India, they left all these railways and this infrastructure. Yeah, but they did it because it benefited British companies and British trade. They didn't do it it wasn't a gift. So all these manufactured goods, all these spices, all the tea, all of the cotton, all of the fucking people, the enslaved people that were, literally ripped away from their cultures and their lands and taken off and put into slave ships. What are you talking about? Those goods?
It was an impressive place run by impressive people. We will see many empires going forward, but we will never see one so benign.
Tucker, you're breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart, Tucker. If we're so benign, why did you leave? Come back. Come back. Right? You guys fought for independence, and now you're saying that it was an impressive place run by impressive people. I'm flattered. Please come back, Tucker. We miss you. What the hell does that mean? Benign. What was benign about it? I've just gone through a laundry list of crimes that the British, committed in Kenya, in India, in the Middle East, right? In Palestine, Egypt, you name it. You name it. I showed you the map. 1/5 of the planet was under British rule. That British rule was not something pleasant. Do you understand? It was forced upon a lot of people. So there's nothing benign about imposing yourself on others and taking their land. I really, I don't understand this. Here, it continues. It continues, the clip.
The very least you can say about the English is that they took their colonial responsibilities seriously. They didn't just...
You're right. I do. I take it very seriously, Tucker, and I'm calling it out. You should be doing that too.
Just take things. They added. When the U.S. government withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years, we left behind airstrips, shipping containers, and guns. When the British pulled out of India, they left behind an entire civilization.
Oh my God.
A language, a legal system, schools, churches, and public buildings, all of which are still in use today. Here's the train station the English built in Bombay, for example. There's nothing like that in Washington, D.C. right now, much less in Kabul or Baghdad. Today, India is far more powerful than the UK, the nation that once ruled it. And yet, after 75 years of independence, has that country produced a single building as beautiful as the Bombay train station that the British colonialists built? No, sadly, it has not. Not one.
I'm done. I don't know what to say. Tucker, that train station was built so that British people could transport goods which they profited of. It wasn't built because they like building nice buildings for Indians. Do you understand this concept? If I come into your house, Tucker, okay, and someone made a great analogy out of this. I forgot who said this, but it's like if I come into your house and I build a ramp on your front door, and I start wheeling shit out of your house, stealing your stuff, and then I say you should thank me for building this beautiful ramp at your doorstep. That's literally what's going on here. The train stations, the railways were built so Britain could steal and plunder from India. You understand? That's it. They were not gifts. As a matter of fact, the Indians had to pay for them. They had to buy British trains. 14,000 trains, right? I mean, this is... Come on, man. These are not state secrets. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is common knowledge. You can go and read this yourself in books. And you can read this online. These are not secrets. How do you not know this? My goodness. I want to show you something else that's just as cringy. The U.S. Congress, the building, the Capitol, they lowered their flag, the American flag, at half-mast when the Queen died. And I posted this on Twitter. I mean, wow. They fight a war of independence from Britain, and then they commemorate the British Queen. I don't understand this. If you think Britain is so impressive, why don't you come back to us, Tucker? We'll take you in. Don't worry. But seriously, this is just weird. It's insulting, actually. It's not just weird. It's really insulting. If I were Indian and listening to this, I would be offended. I would throw something at the TV. I'm not Indian, and I still want to throw something at the TV. When Tucker Carlson, he brings on people like Glenn Greenwald. It's lovely, and he brings on people that say anti-war things and criticize U.S. imperialism. That's lovely. I just don't understand this segment right here. This is so weird, and historically illiterate. No. And again, he talks about the language, the legal system, the schools, the churches and public buildings that are still in use today. Yet once again, man, they were forced on Indians. Do you understand this? They were forced upon them. And again, decolonization, well, so-called decolonization. You guys know that the world is not actually decolonized. But 1947, right, when India became independent, is not that long ago, so it's normal that you still have British influence there. As a matter of fact, if you look at the way the French did things, the French made sure that even after they had, quote-unquote, decolonized certain countries, in Africa particularly, that they would continue to maintain French influence over there. What do you think Britain is doing? There are about 50 countries, I think it's 53 countries that have English as an official language today. Once again, English did not fall out of the sky. They did not just randomly decide to adopt English. English was forced upon them. And yes, I love English. English is a magnificent language. I think it's the best language. But that doesn't mean that people wanted it, Tucker. God, that's not how colonialism works. You can't just destroy someone's culture and then say like, hey, we did you a favor. See, you speak English now. Maybe it's a favor to you. It's not a favor to them. Oh man, I'm shocked. I'm really depressed when I see stuff like this. I expect better than that. Come on. And I'm just bewildered. I'm seeing people from all over the world who, even from countries, I'm not talking about a lot of people, but certain people from countries that were colonized by Britain, who are like just dying to defend the empire. They're dying to worship the Queen. Why are you doing this? This is embarrassing. You're American. You're independent from Britain. Why are you salivating and groveling over British monarchy? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, man? I'm not talking about Tucker only. I'm speaking in general. Like, why do you do that? Why is Nancy Pelosi telling the Capitol to lower the flag at half-mast, like as if the British Queen is a U.S. president or something? Like she's your head of state. She's not. That's the whole point. You literally fought to be independent from us. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is so cringy. So cringy. Again, I understand you have a U.S. president who's dead. I completely understand. That's normal. But a British Queen... I've received the results of the poll. I asked you guys, should we abolish the monarchy? Just as a poll, just as a question. And here are the results. We have 93% of you who say yes, we should abolish the monarchy, and 7% who say no. Well, I don't know who the 7% of you are, but I'd love to hear your arguments as to why not. I'll spell this out because maybe some of you don't know this, but I'm assuming most of you do. The Queen and her whole family live at the taxpayer's expense. You understand this? So they are not only stinking rich, they not only have $28 billion. That's what we know. I'm pretty sure it's much more than that. Not only do they have $28 billion, but on top of that, their lifestyle, their expenses, their security is all financed by the British taxpayer. As a matter of fact, Queen Elizabeth's funeral, which is set to take place on Monday, they wouldn't even tell us how much it will cost. So it's just kind of like, it's going to cost what it's going to cost, and you're going to pay it, motherfucker. That's it. Oh, that's very pleasant. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, boy. Yes, just put it on my account. Yes, I'll deal with it later. Yes. Anyway. I'm going to play you just a little bit more of King Charles' address. Again, I apparently this is my king now. I really don't know. I didn't have a say in this. I don't know who made this decision, but I said he has a good radio voice, right? His voice on the microphone, it sounds very convincing. He's almost like an actor, right? Listen to him.
And progress through times of joy and celebration, and through times of sadness and loss. In her life of service, we saw that abiding love of tradition.
All right, that's enough for me. That's enough for me. I've had enough. We're okay, mate. That's enough. I'm good. So, thank you again for the generous donations. I see we've got a couple of super chats. We have one on Rockfin. And again, thank you to everyone who's tuning in on Rockfin. This one is from Laura. Laura says, I love your work, Richard. You're awesome. You're awesome, Laura. Thank you very much. And I'm going to refresh so I can see the ones on YouTube because they don't always appear. They go, you guys are spamming the chat in a good way so much that it drifts to the top. So I have to go and check them out. We have one from Candace Strike. Says, Richard boy. Yes, indeed. Quite rather. Yes. We have another one from Kapapa. Again, I apologize. I can't read your name. It's too long. I apologize. But they said that 90% of Canada is crown land owned by the new king. Do you actually mean 90%? The fact that I have to ask you this is shocking because it could actually very well be true. I don't know, man. But you know the crown, right, has many dominions. So Queen Elizabeth II, who just passed away, was not only the Queen of England, she was the Queen of Jamaica, right? She's the Queen of Canada. So although these are independent countries, supposedly, that's what they say, that's what they claim, they still have the Queen as the head of state, they still have the Queen on their money. And speaking of Jamaica, you guys remember, who was it that visited Jamaica just a few months ago? It was, I think it was... Harry? No, it wasn't Harry. What's the other one called? I don't even... Who even pays attention to this stuff? I don't know. He was one of the children, one of the royal... from the royals. They visited the Jamaica, and, they asked them to apologize for slavery, and of course they refused. Right? I don't think it was Harry. It was his brother. Anyway. William. Yeah, William. Again, I don't know why I'm supposed to care about these people. I really don't know. And if people say, well, the Queen, it's good to have a queen because it's good for tourism, it brings in money. Well, fucking great. Why don't I be the king and I promise I'll bring you in some tourists? Yeah? Maybe I can be the king for a while. Why does it have to be him? What kind of argument is that? Oh, it brings in tourists. So fucking what? So does Big Ben. What argument is this? It's such rubbish. Absolute rubbish. You think, again, $28 billion does not come from tourism, my friend. It comes from very, very big misdeeds. I love this word, misdeeds, right? Like it's kind of like, yes, we did some cheeky things, but we don't want to really say that it were massacres. We don't want to admit that they were, slavery. So we'll call it a misdeed. What the hell is a misdeed? You stole someone's orange juice? You massacred an entire people? What does that mean? How vague. Absolutely vague. Unbelievable, man. Anyway. I'm really having a laugh, man. I'm having a blast at this. It's so funny. It's so ridiculous. It's such a pompous medieval show. It's so ridiculous. I gotta admit, guys, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of embarrassed that the whole world is looking at England and they see this weird medieval carnival festival that's going on, we have the state funeral, and then we have a proclamation, and then the coronation, and then what is going on here? What century do we live in? What century is this? Claudia's very kind. She's just dropped off the new number of beautiful and gracious patrons that you are, and I'm just kindly updating this image very quickly. Give me 1 second, my good friends. We are now at 849 on Patreon, so thank you very much to everybody who's joined to support the show. I actually think we might have received some new ones, so just let me check my notifications. And yes, indeed, we have Paolo who's just joined. Thank you very much. And we also have a donation on PayPal. This is from Sherman Weaver, and it said, Sherman says, "This is why I rock with you. Truth told with zero fear. We feel your words. Over 500 tribes in the quote-unquote Americas before the Europeans came and raped the land. Speak truth, brother. Seminole land forever. So, as Sherman is pointing out, 500 tribes in the Americas, what are now called the Americas, raped by the Europeans, killed by the Europeans, and of course you can attribute various reasons to that: disease, massacres, land theft, and so on, plundering, and so on. I mean, this is, again, the fact that you can look at any corner of the world and find these same crimes repeated over and over. That's what's so shocking. So when I say, the British Empire is the biggest empire in history, which is true, and had, 25%, between 20 and 25% of the world's land mass and the world's population under its control. The reason I'm telling you this is so you understand that, if you look at the Americas, you'll find crimes there. You look at Australia, you'll find crimes there. You look at Southeast Asia, you'll find crimes there, right? You look in Africa, you'll find crimes there. You look in the Middle East, you'll find crimes there. You look at China, the Opium Wars. This is what's so outrageous and interesting to me. Is that like the British were so furious that they could not deal narcotics. They could not sell their drugs to China because opium was banned twice, that they started wars. So they could force and impose their will on the Chinese. Like, no, you will get addicted to our drugs and we will sell them. I don't know if these figures are disputed or not, but in my memory, it was 15 million addicted to opium in China, right? I mean, again, you're splitting hairs at this point. 10 million, 50 million, the numbers are outrageous. And it's the principle, right? It's the principle that, that the British Empire, again, remember we're talking about the East India Company as well, and of course that's a whole other thing. But nevertheless, it's Britain imposing its will on the Chinese. Like, you will take the drugs whether you like it or not. Again, in any case, thank you, Sherman, for the lovely donation. I appreciate it, and thank you to Blair, who's also just signed up on Patreon. You're very kind. Thanks for supporting my work, and I will play a crab dance for you guys before we move on to the next topics. Let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have two number 9. The number 9 large.
we got him.
I know it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Thank you very much. You're very kind, all of you who are supporting the show. And I just wanted to add one more thing, because some of you have told me in the comments that you've been unsubscribed by YouTube. YouTube has, for some reason, done that. So please just make sure, if you're watching right now, just double check that you're actually subscribed to the channel, just so we can be safe and on the safe side. And if you would kindly hit the bell icon as well, that also helps, then you get a notification. But in any case, thank you all of you for supporting the show. I'm very grateful, and don't worry, because we're not done just yet. We have many more things to talk about. I'm gonna get to Ukraine in a bit. I just wanted to show you something quickly that happened in Lebanon. Okay, so this story caught my attention. A woman in Lebanon robbed a bank so she could get her own money. Do you understand? Because in Lebanon, there's a financial crisis. This is now going off 2-3 years, right? and you're only allowed to withdraw, I think it's $800 a week, or is it a month? Excuse me, I've forgotten the exact period, whether it's per week or per month. But the point is that you cannot access your money, right? The banks are not letting people access the money. So she literally went in and robbed it. And here's a video. It's just short. It's a short video from social media. This is BLOM Bank in Beirut, so in the Lebanese capital. You can see there's a pistol here. It looks like a Glock. So this was reported also not just by Lebanese media, but also on NBC News. Gun-toting woman holds up Beirut bank and leaves with her own savings. So the reason that she robbed the bank, she wanted, I don't know if you can say she robbed the bank. Let's say she held it up to get her own money from the bank, was so she could pay for her sister's cancer treatment, which is, I mean, this is dark. It's very sad. And so just as the article says, $13,000 of her own savings. And there we go. So people, according to Reuters, people can withdraw up to $800 a month. So that I was correct on that. And of course that's ridiculous. The problem is not that you can not only not access your money, but in addition to not being able to access your money, the prices, the inflation is outrageous. The degradation of the currency is outrageous. The crisis in Lebanon is really, really bad. It's really bad. And I've reported on this with you guys many times. We've looked at food prices, how everything has gone up, the medicine. People, for example, they ask if their cousins are traveling overseas, or their brothers and sisters or their friends, please bring me back this medication. Please get me that medication, because they can't find it. Even if you have the money, you can't find, and I'm not talking even about sophisticated stuff. It could be basic stuff like painkillers or something, There's really, really a terrible crisis. And, we looked at, less than a year ago, we looked at how Iran was sending fuel to Lebanon through Hezbollah because there's no fuel. And then they distributed it to, I think, an orphanage, or was it something operated by nuns? In any case, it went to basically hospitals, charities, and so on. They gave it out for free. And they sold the rest of it at the, basically with no margin of profit. So they didn't make any money from it at all. It was basically sold at the same price as before. But I just thought I'd tell you guys about this because it's such a crazy story. And the woman, she told Al Jadid, which is a Lebanese outlet, that the gun was a toy, and she was trying to retrieve money to finance the treatment of her sister who has cancer. She said, I have nothing more to lose. I got to the end of the road. I went to the branch manager 2 days ago and said, my sister is dying. She doesn't have time. I got to a point where I was going to sell my kidney so that my sister could receive treatment. That's extremely sad. And when she's saying, I was going to sell my kidney, she's not speaking metaphorically. There are people that have actually done this in Lebanon, in Syria. Man, the situation is really bad, and they are interlinked. Lebanon's economy is linked to Syria's economy and vice versa. You can't deny that. That's a fact. Beirut and Damascus are like 2 hours apart by car. And a lot of money that Syrian businesses have is actually in Lebanese banks. So the war affects Lebanon, the crisis in Lebanon affects Syria, and vice versa. It's terrible. It's really terrible, and people have actually done that, just so they can make ends meet. They say also in this, in one of the articles that I read, that a man did something similar in August of this year, so just last month. He also, quote unquote, robbed a bank, or shall we say held up a bank to get his own money. And also, I think it was because he needed to pay medical bills for someone in his family. Really sad stuff. I know the man that this is also in Lebanon, right? So he did not get charged in the end. The bank dropped the charges with this woman. Her name is Hafiz, right? She I don't know what the situation is. Sally Hafiz. Yeah, I don't know what the situation is, whether they're actually going to prosecute her or not. But they're saying here that she was celebrated as a hero across social media in Lebanon, as many in the small crisis-hit country struggle to make ends meet and retrieve their savings. She encouraged others to take similar action to reclaim their savings. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? Seriously, tell me in the comments. Thank you, Janice, for your lovely donation. I like the sticker. It says victory. And thank you again to everyone who's supporting the show on Proton, on Patreon, and all these things. I appreciate it very much. So let's talk a bit about the Iran nuclear deal, and then I'll get to Ukraine. Okay, so by the way, I wanted to show you guys something. Are you ready? You guys saw I have a new intro. I want to show you something else that I have, so I can actually go and I can actually take a break with you guys staying. Check it out, and we'll continue in just a moment with Ukraine and Iran nuclear deal. Check this out first. In the last couple of months, you've seen them sanction Russia, and what has that done? It's driven the value of the ruble up. The euro and the dollar are down. Russia has made even more money than it was making before, because the Europeans are still buying the oil. The rest of the world is still buying the oil, and the price of oil and the price of gas have gone up. So even if Russia's selling less oil and less gas, the fact that the price has gone up means that Russia's making more, there's more revenue, okay? So they've come up with a new plan. This is their new brilliant plan. The crude cap applying from December 5th, and the refined products to follow from February 5th, 2023. If you want to go and move Russian oil, you need to get a ship, and you need to get that ship and the cargo insured. The idea is that they will refuse to move your Russian oil unless you bought it at a price per barrel that is below this threshold. I can already tell you one thing: the Chinese are never going to go along with this price cap. A price cap on Russian oil without the price of oil skyrocketing. It's just not happening, man. The EU now wants to replace Russian gas with Israeli gas, right? There's nothing better than some stolen Lebanese gas. And the Israelis are trying their best to block the nuclear deal because, you know, if sanctions are lifted on Iran, Iran is free to sell its oil and gas. Remember, Iran has the biggest gas reserves in the world after Russia. And what do the Israelis do? They straight up just send a giant ship to start extracting the gas. I mean, this thing is a behemoth. You know, Nasrallah, who is the Secretary General of Hezbollah, he threatened them that if they extract any gas before they solve the maritime border dispute, there's going to be a huge response. If Israel messes with Lebanon and starts extracting gas before this issue has been resolved, they're going to strike the Israeli gas rigs. And no company is going to want to come anywhere near that because it's a war zone then. Let me show you this opinion piece I found in The Guardian. The ruble is soaring and Putin is stronger than ever. Our sanctions have backfired. Wow, you don't say. Took you 5 months to realize that? Western sanctions against Russia are the most ill-conceived and counterproductive policy in recent international history. The reality of sanctions on Russia is that they invite retaliation. Putin is free to freeze Europe this winter. He has slashed supply from major pipelines such as Nord Stream 1 by up to 80%. The chief beneficiary is none other than Russia, whose energy exports to Asia have soared, driving its balance of payments into unprecedented surplus. Man, seriously, did I not say exactly all of this months ago? Perhaps after all, we should stick to war. I don't agree with everything in this article, but the premise that sanctions have failed, absolutely. I mean, this was clear from the beginning, man. They're attacking India again for buying Russian oil. Now, again, think of how the United States and the West are. They thought, okay, we're going to sanction Russia, and then Russia's economy is going to be destroyed. And now Russia is moving more amounts of oil towards the east than it did before. And India is buying this up at a discount. The Ukrainian foreign minister, look what he says to India. He says that every barrel of Russian oil delivered to India has quote-unquote Ukrainian blood on it. They're shipping Russian oil to the United States via India. They just send it to India, and then in India they mix it in with something else, right? So chemically speaking, it's not exactly 100% the same as it came in from Russia. Western European countries and the United States, they want to go lecture India for buying the same oil as them. The West still consuming Russian oil, and then they have the nerve to lecture India for doing the same. Europe needs a gas supplier. Israel, I mean, no matter what it wants to do, it's not just about the money. Let me explain this, man, because the Israelis, for them, it's not that they need the money desperately like Lebanon. They want people to legitimize them, to validate them. They want to have the prestige of being, oh, we're an official energy supplier to the European Union. Remember, when you are supplying resources that are so crucial, like oil, like gas, this gives you power. It is power. And they want to kneecap Iran in every way, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, whatever it is, where there's foreign investments. Remember how many companies lost billions that they invested in Iran? There is a serious will to cooperate with Iran, but the Israelis hate that. They want to be the number one in the region. Gennady Gatilov, who is Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, that just means that he's an ambassador. He said that the world has changed and the UN will never be the same as it was before. These UN votes, remember, there were multiple resolutions to condemn Russia, to ask Russia to end the invasion and so on. India that didn't do it, China that didn't do it, and only South Africa condemning Russia. That's very huge. They want to deal with Russia. Doesn't mean they like the war, but they're not going to go and cancel Russia. Although overwhelmingly those countries at the UN did vote to condemn Russia, the ones that didn't have very powerful economies or vast resources, or both. Of course, that includes Iran as well, Iraq. They all refuse to condemn Russia. I think I understand what he's saying, that, oh, the UN will never be the same. I get the feeling it's the same with the European Western society, the economy. This is all going to go down the drain. A lot of people are going to get hurt, which is very unfortunate. In the last couple of months, you've seen them sanction Russia, and what has that... We're back. God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols really hits hard, man. It's really it's so perfect for the times that we're living in, and you really see how some people are morons. I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. Again, I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead. I don't think it's funny when someone dies, and but I'm talking about people in general in Britain who are so blinded that they think that they have to worship some family. I mean, what's so special about them? What's so special? Why don't you go worship the Smiths or whatever? Pick a random family. Why is it them? I don't understand this. I don't see the logic of it. And what's twice as egregious is when they say things like, well, Britain is a Western country and has Western values and it's democratic and it's free speech. And you had even Tucker Carlson saying that, right? That Britain gave the world free speech and the Magna Carta and habeas corpus. Yes. And are they actually applied? Are they really properly applied? No, you cannot say that, because literally right now, the perfect example, you cannot protest against the monarchy. You will be arrested for protesting in Britain against the monarchy and charged with breach of the peace, whatever the hell that means. How obscenely and absurdly vague and abstract. What does that mean, breach of the peace? Someone farted? Someone yelled? Someone brought a boombox with them? What the fuck does that mean? Breach of the peace? What peace? What is this blind worship? Christ, man, it really embarrassing. Really embarrassing. I'm just wondering what other people in other countries think and what's going through their heads when they look at Britain and they see this. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? One of you in the comments said something. I'm trying to find the. Hold on, I'll look it up. Yeah, one of you said that the British were spreading Christianity throughout the world. What Bible were they reading? It's a good question. It's a good question. You know, being British and being Syrian, and Syrian Christian particularly, I have both sides of the coin, right? So I can tell you that the stuff you see, this like Christian missionary stuff that was practiced by not just the British, by the way. You know, the Spanish did this, the Portuguese. You know, it's European colonialism. This idea of that, we're going to go and civilize people, right? Not only is that racist, but also their idea of Christianity. You know, like murdering people and chopping their limbs off or whatever the hell. I mean, all of it, the torture, this forced conversion. What the hell does that have to do with Christianity? I also want to know what Bible they are reading. I really want to know what Bible they're reading. Christ, no pun intended. But I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy, you know. And the just in general, like the way that the faith is practiced is also different. It's I must say it's different. And you have to remember that, you know, where does Christianity come from? Where did Jesus come from? He came from the Levant. He came from this area which is known as Syria or Palestine. You know, I mean, when we say Syria, why is Syria important in Christianity? Because it was taken, right, from the Levant and to Europe by Paul, right? So we have you guys know what happened with Straight Street. Straight Street is that's literally what it's called. It's called Straight Street in Damascus at Bab Shari, which is the gate there. You know, this is very important because this is where you know, he gets blinded and then he converts to Christianity, and then you know, he gets smuggled out with the basket and all this stuff. So that's why Syria is important for Christianity. And when we say Syria, I don't just mean what is today Syria, but the whole region, the Levant. You know, in Arabic, when you say Sham, it could mean Damascus, the capital. It could mean all of Syria, or the whole region, the Levant. So I think it's important. And I just wanted to say that this Christian imperialism, whatever the hell they've exported to civilize people, it's so violent, it's so obscene and outrageous. It's really something else. It's something else, man. And you can see that with the Crusades as well, right? The Crusaders. I mean, what was this stuff? This was basically people coming from Europe, you know, mercenaries, and you know, getting on their high horse, no pun intended, and doing the whole holier than thou thing, right? So, we are the Christians and we're going to the quote-unquote Holy Land. And what did they do when they got to the Holy Land? They killed everybody, including the Christians there. So you see that this has nothing to do with religion. It's about taking control of lands, taking the treasures, the money, the resources, plundering them. You know, all of this money that the European powers have, it's stolen. It's stolen. That's why you have quote-unquote developed countries and undeveloped countries. And I know I've jumped now from the Crusades all the way to the present day, but I think you have to understand the mentality here of you know, what the idea of Christianity is in these European countries, especially the imperialist ones. It's completely distorted. And it goes back many centuries. It's not just, you know, British imperialism in Australia or Canada or so on. It goes way back before that. In any case, let me proceed to the next segment. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit. I want to give you a little update regarding the Iran nuclear deal and what's happening then, because, you know, every couple of weeks you'll hear, oh my God, the Iran deal is just about to be signed, and then it doesn't happen. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. So the Americans and their allies were saying that, lovely, Iran has finally dropped the red line demand, right? Like these prerequisites that the United States remove the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, from its list of foreign terrorist organizations. I know that sentence is a god-awful mouthful, But my point here is that it's been many weeks since we've heard this line in the media. Okay, great. Iran dropped this demand, supposedly. It was never a prerequisite, but they're saying it is. Okay. Well, where's the deal? It's not being signed. And now the biggest issue is the probe, right? Because the International Atomic Energy Agency, for short, we just say IAEA, which is the nuclear watchdog for the United Nations, for the UN. And it's based in Vienna, where the talks are happening. The IAEA is the one in charge of implementing the deal, right? So, you know, what happened when the deal was originally signed in 2015, 2016? You had nuclear scientists, inspectors particularly, who would go to Iran, to the nuclear facilities, and check everything, right? Like, what are you guys doing here? How many grams of fissile material do you have? Are these seals broken? The seals that we put? Are the cameras still running? Etc., etc. So the IAEA is very important as an organization, and not just because of the Iran nuclear deal, but also the NPT. And there is an investigation that has not been concluded yet, that the IAEA basically is asking questions. Why did they find, particles of uranium in undeclared nuclear sites in Iran? Now, this did not happen now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this happened about 20 years ago, right? So just about 2 decades. And they are still trying to understand where these particles of uranium come from because the Iranians did not declare them. That's the argument. That's what the probe is about. And Iran is saying, if you want the deal to be concluded, you have to close the investigation. And the Americans are saying, no, the nuclear deal has nothing to do with this investigation. So this is what the fight is about now. Okay? And I think again, it's petty. It's really petty, in my opinion. But in any case, I'm just trying to bring you up to speed about what's happening. So this is from VOA, and the headline says, Iran says it's ready to cooperate with the IAEA, but it has rights. And this is from September 12th, right? So just 3 days ago. And it said that Iran expressed a readiness to cooperate with the UN's nuclear watchdog, saying that while the country does have obligation, it also has rights. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said that Iran expects constructive actions from the agency and its governing board. The board begins meetings Monday on a range of worldwide nuclear issues, including concerns about Iran's program. So, again, as I just read to you, they have the Board of Governors meeting every quarter, I believe, in the IAEA, and this is very important. And during the negotiations, because this has been going on for like almost 2 years now, right? Let's say a year and a half. During this whole time, you've had moments where Iran said, if you guys condemn us at the Board of Governors, then not the deal's off, but don't do that because we don't like that. And the Americans and the British and the French have been saying, no, actually, we're going to go ahead and condemn you if you don't cooperate with the IAEA and its probe. So you've had this tug of war going on the whole time, and it's more symbolic than anything, but it still carries a lot of weight. So it says here in the article that the IAEA has pushed Iran to provide credible answers about the presence of man-made uranium particles found at 3 undeclared sites in the country. So this is basically what I just explained to you guys a few minutes ago. And they go on to say that, quote, what we've seen over the last week is Iran's response to the proposal put forward by the European Union, and it's clearly a step backwards and makes the prospects for an arrangement in the near term, I would say, unlikely. So this is from Blinken, who is the U.S. Secretary of State. He was speaking in Mexico City. And he said that, quote, Iran seems either unwilling or unable to do what is necessary to reach an agreement. And they continue to try to introduce extraneous issues to the negotiation that make an agreement less likely. Iran has sought an end to the probe as part of talks to revive the 2015 international agreement that gave the country sanctions relief in exchange for limitations on its nuclear activity. Amid concerns it was working to develop nuclear weapons. Again, I think this is kind of silly because Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program. And again, I think the conventional wisdom is that Iran stopped by 2003 with the weapons program. It does not have one today, but nevertheless, the media, they keep like planting the seed in your mind and trying to condition you to think that whenever we say Iran nuclear deal, it's about Iran building weapons. Iran is not building weapons, but that's their premise. So Britain, France, and Germany basically issued a joint statement parroting what the United States said. Same crap, And I wanted to play to you a clip here. This is from Rafael Grossi. Grossi is the Director General of the IAEA in Vienna. Okay, this is what he had to say on September 12th.
I regret this. This is not new. Of course, it's not new to see that.
Give me a second. I think the audio is a bit low. I'm just going to turn it up for you. One moment. I think that should be better now.
I would say I regret this. This is not new. Of course, it's not new to see that when the agency is demanding certain things and Iran doesn't want to or does not engage in the way one would expect, that they accuse us of being politicizing. This issue is very straightforward. We found traces of uranium in places that were never declared, that were never supposed to have any nuclear activity. And we are asking questions. Explain to me why this is a political use of my authorities. This is what the IAEA is supposed to do. I have been referring to how we get back the knowledge of what is happening now without our cameras being rolling and other monitoring systems online, enrichment monitoring and flow systems that we used to have and that we lost. So frankly, the information gap is bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, we don't want to sound dramatic, but the reality is that it's going to be extremely difficult, and we will have to work very, very hard, and Iran will have to be very transparent in giving us information, accesses on a number of things, so we can put back together a picture which will be approximate and never exact, because we don't have the images, to the reality.
I gotta be honest, guys. What he's saying, what he said at the end there, is not related to this probe. So he said that there's an information gap and we need to get the cameras back and so on. Yes, fine, that's part of the deal. The thing is, though, that when the Israelis, the Mossad, which is Israel's intelligence service, they assassinated an Iranian nuclear scientist who was called Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. They killed him in November of 2020. After that, the Iranians responded by saying, you know what, you guys, not just the Israelis, but the Americans as well, you guys are screwing us, you're killing our nuclear scientists, you're sanctioning us, why don't you get back in the nuclear deal? Why? Because Trump ripped it up. And so what the Iranians came up with, and they got this passed in the parliament, in the Majlis, as they call it, is that every month, Rafael Grossi, who I just showed you, the Director General, he has to come to Tehran, to the Iranian capital, and renew the black box agreement. So again, I'm going to unpack this for you. I'm trying to explain in as simple terms as possible what I'm talking about. In the Iranian nuclear facilities, they have cameras, right? The IAEA have cameras. Iran said, you guys are not cooperating with the deal, so we're going to stop cooperating with the deal, right? If someone is not holding up their end, why should the other side hold up their end? So the Iranians said, you have 3 months to get back in the nuclear deal and lift the sanctions. And why did they say 3 months? Because they were waiting for Joe Biden to be inaugurated, basically. And that was one of his campaign promises. Obviously, we're in September 2022. The Americans have still not gotten back in the deal. So what ended up happening is the Iranians said, we're going to stop with the additional protocol. That the additional protocol is a chunk of the agreement, shall we say. And it includes the cameras. And so they said, we will keep the cameras on, but you cannot look at the footage until everything is fixed, and then we will hand over the footage. So that's what's been happening. The Iranians are keeping the cameras rolling, but they do not let the IAEA look at the footage anymore. And that's why he's talking about an information gap. This has nothing to do with the probe, man. The probe is something else. Now, you could say the two are related because it's about looking inside the nuclear facilities in Iran. Yes, but this is a very, very specific investigation about 3 sites and man-made uranium particles in those sites. Not about the additional protocol. So I don't know who cut this clip or whether that was like part of the same answer, but those two things are not related. And in my opinion, I gave you the facts. I'm going to give you my opinion now. I think this back and forth about the IAEA probe is kind of petty. I understand the Iranians because we know from WikiLeaks how biased people can be in these organizations. And again, I don't want to level any charges against Mr. Grossi. I'm speaking about the office itself. You know, when you get into a position like that, you're the head of the IAEA or the OPCW, you can be compromised. You can be. I'm not saying he is. I don't know. I'm saying that the Americans are so good and the Israelis are so good at applying pressure on people in order to achieve said results. And what I mean by that is the Iranians, from their point of view, this whole thing is biased and it's basically just meant to screw them. So that's why they don't like this probe. And they're saying that it has to be canceled. And, you know, I think that the issue of the probe is, I mean, I don't think it should be related to the deal because, you know, the nuclear deal is basically sanctions relief, and then you have the JCPOA, the NPT, the additional protocol, everything working in sync, and the inspectors have access to the Iranian sites and so on. It's very simple. It's a very simple agreement. The only ones that are making it complicated are the Americans and the Israelis. And the Israelis are very proud of themselves, you know? They're very proud that basically they are succeeding at derailing all of this. And of course, you know, they have many ways of doing this. They either go and bomb someone that they say is connected to Iran, or they kill this and that person. And just to show you, for example, this story over here from Andalu, from Agency, look what they said here. Israel says its campaign against the Iran nuclear deal is successful. So this was published on the 11th of September. So the Israeli Prime Minister, Yair Lapid, on Sunday, termed his country's campaign against signing a deal with Iran over its nuclear program as successful. Israel is conducting, so quote, Israel is conducting a successful diplomatic campaign to stop the nuclear agreement, Lapid said on Twitter before departing to Germany. He, however, said there is still a long way to go. So you see how proud he is of this? He's very proud of that. And remember, Israel is not in this agreement. Israel is not a party or a signatory of this agreement. As a matter of fact, one of you in the comments just now said, why isn't Mr. Grossi inspecting Israel's nuclear sites? I would like to know that too. Remember, Israel has refused to sign the ban on chemical weapons, refused to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or the NPT. Israel has about 90 to 100 nuclear warheads. Those are the ones we know about. Basically, they have nuclear weapons, and it's an undeclared arsenal. So when we talk about, you know, someone, procuring nuclear weapons or the technology to build nuclear weapons, Israel is the threat. And you can look at the behavior, like you compare Iran to Israel. Who behaves more badly? Like, who would you trust the least with nuclear weapons? It's Israel. Israel is occupying Syria. Israel occupied Lebanon, is still occupying a piece of it. Israel is occupying Palestine. Israel bombs and assassinates whoever it wants, wherever it wants. I mean, this is violent, bully behavior. It's aggressive. So, you know, I'd also like to know why the IAEA is not investigating them. But of course, you can't ask that question. Let's all focus on Iran. Iran this, Iran that. Look, man, I'll be straight up with you. If the Iranians wanted to build a nuke, they would have built it yesteryear. Okay? The Iranians have the technology, they have the brains, they have the resources, and the manpower to do it. If they really wanted to do it, they would have done it. And keep in mind, you know, Khamenei, who's their leader, he has a religious power as well. It's not just about, oh, he's the supreme leader. No. He issued a fatwa, which is a religious decree against nuclear weapons. And I talked about this with Scott Ritter here on the channel. Think about how it would damage his credibility if he issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons and then he's secretly building nuclear weapons. That would be extremely damaging. So on that front, it doesn't make sense. Now, what are the facts? Is there any proof of a nuclear weapons program? There isn't. If there is, why hasn't the IAEA exposed it and published it and talked about it? Forget Israel. Israel is biased. Israel wants to attack Iran. Israel wants a war with Iran. Well, I don't know if they I don't know if that would be a good idea, but Israel is confrontational and aggressive towards Iran. So of course they're going to say, oh, they have nuclear weapons. Forget Israel for a second. The UN, the IAEA, has never said that Iran has weapons. So, the facts are the facts. There are cameras, there are inspectors. I have no evidence. I see no evidence. And the only ones that do have nukes are the Israelis. Don't forget that. Anyway, just quick reminder. Here's my playlist on the channel. This is my coverage of the nuclear deal. Independent coverage, on the ground coverage. Don't listen to any of the garbage from the mainstream media. Go to the YouTube channel right here. Click on playlists and click on Iran nuclear deal JCPOA. This is the spot. So actually, one second. I'm just gonna say. I wanted to give you guys an announcement. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central European Time, Scott Ritter will come on the channel and we will talk about Ukraine. I'm going to talk about Ukraine now in a second, but still, just so you know, it's 10 p.m. Paris time. So if you're in New York, that's 4 p.m. If you're in Los Angeles, that's 1 p.m. If you're in London, it's 9 p.m. If you're in Syria, if you're it would be +1, then 11 p.m. Okay, so let's talk about Ukraine. Let's talk about Ukraine and what's happening there. So there's a huge counteroffensive that's been taking place in Ukraine. And I want to show you on the map just so you can get an idea of what's happening. This is taking place in Kharkiv, okay? And what you see here in purple is what the Ukrainians have taken back from the Russians. So you see on the right here, everything highlighted in purple. This is roughly, they're saying it's around, between 3,000 to 6,000 square kilometers, right? The BBC say it's 6,000 square kilometers. Basically, the information is coming in live right now, so it's always changing. But that's enormous. That's quite enormous. Now, obviously, the Russians, they're still in control in other regions. You have a big battle taking place in the south. So we're talking about Kherson, right? I wanted to just pull up this map over here. This one is a bit older. It's from 13th of September. But just so you see what's happening right now, there's a counteroffensive in Kharkiv and Kherson. Both regions, okay? And everyone is saying right now that this is humiliating for the Russians because they've lost so much territory, they didn't even put up a fight. So you have two differing opinions, right? One is that the Russians they were crushed, they didn't even bother fighting, they fled like cowards. And then the other side is saying that, no, actually it was tactical. The Russians purposely withdrew the troops so they could concentrate in Kherson, okay? And, you'll hear people say that, well, great, that's what we wanted. We wanted the Russians to pull out and move to Kherson so that they would be tricked into leaving and abandoning Kharkiv, and so that we could take it back. All I can do is give you both sides of the story and tell you what's going on. All right, that's all I can do. And here's what the Pentagon is saying about this. So this is the Pentagon press secretary, Pat Ryder. Here's what he had to say about this. I'm going to turn it up because I don't think you guys can hear it. Just one moment. I think should be okay now.
In the counteroffensive, would you describe sort of the pace of the counteroffensive as something the department found surprising and unexpected, or is this the timeline you expected it would sort of play out on?
Well, certainly since the beginning of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, we've seen the Ukrainians demonstrate a remarkable adaptability in their ability to use their warfighting capabilities to great effect. So it's not surprising to us that they have pushed as quickly as they have. They've also, again, shown a remarkable ability to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves on the battlefield. And the current counteroffensive in Kharkiv is no exception to that. I think if anyone was surprised, just based on the reports that we've seen in terms of the Russian military's response, it was probably the Russians.
So that's what they're saying. There are no announcements that I know of from the Russians. So make of that what you will, right? Some people are saying that basically the Russians are spooked, and that's why Putin has not said anything, and the Russian Defense Ministry have not said anything. I don't know yet, but I'm just telling you what's happening. And here's an article from Al Jazeera. Let's go through it quickly, okay? So they say questions loom over Ukraine's counteroffensive in Kharkiv, okay? So 36 towns and villages have been liberated from Russian forces who fled eastwards and offered little or no resistance, according to analysts. So this guy from University of Bremen told Al Jazeera that, quote, within 4 days, Ukraine nullified 4 months of success of the Russian army. That cost them a huge amount of victims. This is Nikolai Mitrokin. And so down here, they say the Russians abandoned next to no artillery or armored vehicles, and the retreat from the heavily fortified area did not look like a panicked flight. What this sentence means is that, you know, in war, if you have the enemy coming, sometimes you don't have time to pack your stuff and leave. What you'll usually do is basically set everything on fire, break it, sabotage it, so that, you know, you can't take it, but at least the enemy can't have it as well, right? So they can't have it either. And they're saying that that's not the case. The Russians did not leave anything. They did not, leave behind any equipment. They took all of it and went. So these analysts are saying that this was a deliberate decision made in the Kremlin, so made by the Russians, to leave the area and use the manpower and weaponry near separatist-controlled areas. Mitrokin says that the Russian Defense Ministry made a decision that apparently came from the very top to fully withdraw forces from Kharkiv and to use the available resources to hold onto the positions in Donetsk and perhaps the border of Luhansk. So the other argument, as I told you, is that this was not calculated. It's not that the Russians did this on purpose and they're planning and doing this in a calculated manner. No, they failed, and because the troops there are badly trained. So that's the other argument being put forward by analysts and by Ukraine, right? So they're saying here that in Al Jazeera that there is mounting evidence that after heavy losses of manpower that may reach tens of thousands, the Kremlin is deploying untrained convicts who have been lured to the front line by the promises of amnesty and payments. Okay, so basically the Russians are using prisoners and telling them if they fight, they'll be freed. That's what they're saying in this paragraph. They say between 7,000 and 10,000 convicts have already been recruited to fight in Ukraine. Olga Romanova of the Rus Sidishasha, I hope I said that correctly, I probably didn't, human rights group that monitors Russian prisoners, said on Facebook. So that's their count. They're saying up to 10,000. Down here, this is important. This is Kadyrov. So you guys know Kadyrov is basically the leader of Chechnya. He's an ally of Moscow's. He's been fighting with his paramilitaries, with his army alongside the Russians. And, you know, he's, with I don't even need to say anything else. He's extremely pro-Russia and pro-Putin. And nevertheless, he criticized this. Look what he says here. He said, quote, that if today or tomorrow there are no changes in the strategy of the special military operation, I will have to approach the heads of the defense ministry and Russia's leaders to tell them about the situation. That's what he said in a voice message posted on his Telegram channel. So they say that Izium and Kupiansk are the most important gains. They served as logistic hubs for the Russian advance in Luhansk and Donetsk and were used for almost daily shelling of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Ukraine also regained control of several areas and checkpoints on the Russian border that had been used as supply lines. The triumphant deoccupation of some 2,000 square kilometers. Keep in mind, when this was written, it was 2,000. BBC are saying it's now 6,000 square kilometers. Okay? They say it's already followed by painstaking restoration of administration in the deoccupied areas. Now, here's an important point that comes up. They're saying that, okay, very, very lovey-dovey, very nice and dandy. The Ukrainians have taken back control of their land. What's happening next? Who's coming in to administer these areas? They're saying that they're going after collaborators. That's what's going on. So they're saying that the restoration of power is being followed by persecution of officials and law enforcement officers who collaborated with Russians. Okay, so they're going after everybody who worked with the Russians. Roman Dubin, who's Kharkiv's top intelligence official with the SBU, that's Ukraine's security service, has already been charged with treason, according to Ukraine's General Prosecutor's Office. And by the way, I just wanted to go back quickly here and read to you what they say. They say that, quote, at least 1,000 civilians died in Izium alone, mostly because they lacked access to healthcare, town council head Maxim Strelnikov said in a televised remark. And they said that the buildings, so 80% of the town's buildings were destroyed. I mean, when I read this stuff, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely, completely heartbreaking, and I'm still trying to understand why this war had to happen, because it is so unnecessary. All this death, all this destruction, it's really disgusting. It's really, really, really painful for a lot of people. And they're saying down here that Russia retaliated the counteroffensive by deliberately striking power stations throughout Ukraine. And these led to blackouts in 5 regions on Sunday and Monday morning. So this is now the next point, right? It's what are the Russians doing in response? In Kherson, the situation looks better than in Kharkiv, right? Meaning they're able to hold on to those territories. But they're saying now, there are many reports that I've read where they're accusing the Russians, they're alleging that the Russians have specifically, purposely targeted Ukraine's power grid, which of course, I don't need to tell you, this is a war crime. If this is true, it's a war crime. You know, civilian infrastructure is protected by the Geneva Convention. This goes from anything from, railroad tracks to water stations, whatever it is. And here they're saying that not only power stations, but water stations have been targeted by the Russians. Now, my problem is that I can't tell fact from fiction when you're reading Western media, because when you look at how they reported on Syria, the lies that they told, I know for a fact personally, is unbelievable. I don't know what to believe. If the Russians did do this, though, it's without a question a war crime. I want to show you here this quote in Al Jazeera. Look what they say. They say that a renowned Kremlin propagandist hailed the strikes. They, quote, switch off lights, stop water supply, disconnect cell phones, and stop trains. So this is from Vladimir Solovyov, one of the most outspoken Kremlin propagandists, who said this during his talk show on Russia 1 television channel. Now, again, one guy cheering this stuff on, which I think is wrong, but him cheering that on does not necessarily mean that it's true, but it's still really concerning, man, because, whether it's the Americans doing this or the Russians doing this or aliens doing this, it's wrong. Targeting power stations and water, this is very wrong. There are other ways of winning a war. What I'm trying to understand is if it's true. That's the problem. You know how they lied about Syria, and they do this all the time, and they're lying even now about what's happening in Ukraine. Now, that doesn't mean that, the Russians are necessarily right or the Ukrainians are necessarily right. I'm just trying to, pick apart fact from fiction. And I can understand the Ukrainians' point of view that, this is beautiful, liberating their land. You can understand both sides. You can blame, not necessarily blame, but just say the truth that NATO is behind this war. NATO caused this war. NATO poked the Russians and provoked this entire dreadful situation, while also understanding the Ukrainians' point of view, which is this is their land. This is their earth. This is, having that liberated is beautiful, But again, I think it's just sad that this whole situation happened in the first place. I think it's so disgusting that these monsters, who call themselves diplomats, who call themselves public servants, all they've done is basically make huge profits for the weapons companies. They've made sure that the military budget in the US goes up, that, this military industrial complex, the MIC, has made ridiculous profits, and of course they sell it to you in the media by saying we're helping Ukraine. No, you're helping your friends. The money is going into your friends' pockets, and then you're sending weapons to kill people. This is destruction. It's so unnecessary. So here is another headline from The Guardian. Look what they say. Russian strikes knock out power and water in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. They say cruise missiles hit infrastructure in what Ukraine says is revenge attack over recent rapid gains. So you understand, right? Basically, the Ukrainians took back their territory, and they're accusing the Russians of bombing their water and power stations in revenge. That's the gist of it. And this is particularly in Kharkiv region. So again, I'm just going to pull up Ukraine's regions on the map so you can kind of visualize. You guys know I love maps. So here's just a very dead simple one. Look what we're talking about. And this, of course, does not reflect current troop positions. I'm just bringing up, the basic geography. We are talking about Kharkiv over here, this region where my cursor is. They are saying that the Ukrainians have taken back the territory here, and that this is where the Russians struck the infrastructure. Down here, you also have heavy fighting in Kherson, in this region, okay? The Ukrainians have not made rapid gains there, just like in Kharkiv. And again, we'll see what happens. But basically tomorrow, I'm going to have Scott Ritter coming on the show, and we're going to, basically unpack this whole story about the counteroffensive in detail. Very, very detailed discussion, and this is going to take place at 10 p.m. Central European time. So if 10 p.m. Paris, that's 11 p.m. Damascus, that's 9 p.m. London, that's 4 p.m. New York, 1 p.m. Los Angeles. I've given you all the time zones, okay? 10 p.m. Central European time. So we will talk about all of this, whether the Russians are losing the war, whether this is really turning the tide, and everything in and between. I've just a second. I think there's a really crazy story that just broke live right now, and I'm trying to see if it's true. I don't want to say anything because it's so crazy. It's so nuts. It's also about Ukraine. I don't want to say anything before I've verified it. Just give me a second, guys. This is nuts. What the hell is happening? So apparently, Ukraine's president Zelensky has been in a car crash. This story has just broken. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm stunned. I'm trying to get everything together to show you guys. Here's what's going on. President Zelensky involved in car accident hours after Putin survives assassination attempt. I don't know if this part is true about the assassination attempt on Putin, but the car crash is certainly true. That's certainly true. This took place in Kiev, so in the capital, and he has not been seriously hurt. Okay, so basically a car collided with the car of the president, and that's it. They're saying that doctors accompanied the head of state and provided emergency assistance to the driver of the car and handed him over to an ambulance. The president was examined by a doctor. No serious injuries were found. So, again, Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky, was just in a car crash, but he's okay. And I think his driver is okay, but he was taken in... The driver was in an ambulance. Zelensky's fine. I thought I'd tell you guys because it's... in this headline I just read to you, which is from Euro Weekly, they're linking it to Putin. I don't know if those two things are linked. I have no clue. The car crash with Zelensky is true. I'm just trying to check up this thing on Putin, whether there was really some assassination attempt. I don't know. I'm trying to double check this. You know, The Sun is not exactly the best source, right? The Sun, for those of you who don't know, is a British publication, and, you know, it's not exactly trustworthy, right? And then below that, you would have the Daily Mail. Sorry, that's how it is. But according to The Sun, this is what they're saying. Motorcade blast. Vladimir Putin's car attacked with a bomb in an assassination attempt over Ukraine invasion. They're saying that Putin's limousine was allegedly attacked in a possible assassination attempt as the war in Ukraine rages on, according to Kremlin insiders. So they're saying the Russian tyrant's car was hit by a loud bang on its left front wheel, which was followed by heavy smoke, sources close to the leader allege. I mean, they're saying it's a possible or potential assassination attempt. Was it really? Or maybe did his tire just blow out? What the hell happened? Putin's limousine was driven to safety with the president unharmed, but there have been multiple arrests from his security service. It is reported some of his bodyguards have vanished amid claims secret information about the 69-year-old's movements were compromised, according to the General GVR Telegram channel. The anti-Kremlin channel claims Putin was traveling back to his official residence in a decoy motorcade amid security fears. The backup convoy was made up of 5 armored cars with Putin in the third. So, just for those of you who don't know what that means, when you have very high-profile targets, like, for example, the Russian president or the American president or, you know, the British prime minister, because they're such high value people, you know, they will be put, or they just call them VIP, right? Very important person. They will have decoy cars, fake cars. So you don't, you know, if you're a terrorist or you're trying to assassinate them, you won't be able to tell which car they're in. You'll have 5 cars instead of 1. You understand? That's what they're talking about when they say they're decoy or backup convoys and so on. The Sun article goes on to say that it is unclear. Sorry, I think I'm muting myself. The Sun article goes on to say that it is unclear when the potential assassination took place, and it has not been immediately possible to verify the claim. That's exactly why I was hesitant to tell you guys, because the one about Zelensky being in a car crash seems to be true. I don't know about this. I'm just telling you what the Sun are saying, which I shouldn't be doing. But this is crazy, right? It's a crazy story. I have to tell you guys about it. I'm trying to find other sources to verify what happened to Putin, but they're saying here on this Sun article that in the Telegram channel, quote, on the way to the residence a few kilometers away, the first escort car was blocked by an ambulance, and the second escort car drove around without stopping due to the sudden obstacle and during the detour of the obstacle. In Putin's car, a loud bang sounded from the left front wheel, followed by heavy smoke, it is claimed. Again, it's the same thing. And they say that the body of a man was found driving the ambulance, which blocked the first car from the motorcade. This is wild. This is really wild. This is absolutely wild. I want to show you, going back to the story about Zelensky, I want to show you what's going on here. There's a video of the crash, apparently, or the aftermath of it. let's take a look here. What's going on? You can see the emergency services, so police, ambulance, firefighters. So that must be that must be the scene of the car crash where Zelensky's vehicle collided with another. So again, you guys got to bear with me because I mean, I'm trying to multitask right now. I'm trying to keep talking while looking this stuff up. What do you guys think happened? Honestly, what do you think happened? I mean, I don't even know if those are connected. That could totally be a coincidence, because you're going to have people saying, well, maybe the assassination attempt on Putin is the reason Zelensky was almost killed in a car crash. You're going to have people saying conspiracy theories like that. But again, nothing is too crazy in this world. Anything is possible. Let's just not get ahead of ourselves. Let's calm down and go step by step. Okay, so there's a story in the Mirror. This is another British outlet. So apologies for showing you the Sun, but I just wanted to tell you that other outlets are reporting this story about Putin. Okay, so here's from the Mirror. They say that his limo was quote unquote attacked in an assassination attempt. They're also saying the same thing, right? And the story is basically the same text. It's a copy paste. You'll have a wire sometimes. So again, doesn't yet verify the story, but I'm just looking quickly and trying to see if there are any reputable sources about this. But that's insane. Wow. While we're at it, I don't know if you guys caught this sentence, which was in the article. But I just wanted to bring your attention to something. We were just talking about how the Ukrainians have made rapid gains and advances in the region of Kharkiv, and there's also heavy fighting in Kherson, but the loss and the defeat for Russia is so big that there is now a petition calling for Putin to resign, and this is from France 24. They're saying that a petition calling for Russian President Vladimir Putin to resign has been circulating in Russia since Monday, with dozens of local politicians risking prison sentences to sign it. France 24 spoke to Ksenia Torstrem, who's a municipal deputy for St. Petersburg district and one of the leading petitioners demanding Putin's resignation. So it was initially signed by 19 local elected officials and published on Monday. Contains a brief text that condemns Putin's invasion of Ukraine and demands that he step down. This defeat also in Kherson, sorry, in Kharkiv, excuse me. I'm just trying to scroll down over here to the Q&A. They say, why did you choose to launch a petition against Putin at this time? And this official is saying, we wanted to express our support for our friends who are from St. Petersburg district and called for Putin to be tried for treason. They're having trouble with police now, and they're up here. They're saying that you have 19 who signed it initially, and down here another 84 signatures have been added. Okay? So 19 up to 84 signatures. And they're asking them, isn't this dangerous? And their answer is, there's nothing that prohibits it. There's nothing that prohibits it. I think this is very troubling, because you have, on the one hand, these officials moving against him. And on the other hand, you have Kardyov, so the Chechnyan leader who's fighting with the Russians, criticizing the defense officials and the strategy, because the losses in Kharkiv are so big. I don't. Again, you have people saying, "Oh, it's the fall of the regime, and they're gonna get Putin and all this stuff." I don't know, man. Who the hell knows what's gonna happen? But I think it's very interesting to see this descent. It's very interesting because you didn't have it before on this level. You didn't have that. I think this phrase that's been going around. There was someone saying that this loss of territory in Kharkiv, but it's the biggest defeat for the Russian army since World War II, since December 1942. When you put it that way, I mean, dude, that's... It's very big. And it's normal that you're going to have people trying to cover it up by saying, well, look, this was a calculated decision. We wanted to retreat and withdraw our troops on purpose so we could put them elsewhere. Maybe it's true. You guys remember a few months ago, the Russians were outside, on the outskirts of Kiev, of the capital. You remember this? I can pull up a map for you from then. And they ended up leaving. Do you remember this? Here, just give me a second. Shall we pull one up perhaps from May? Right. Yeah, here you go. So you can see the transition April to May. This is what happened, right? So the territories here in dark blue, almost gray, right? These are regions reclaimed by the Ukrainian army. Okay, so this was basically April, May, and the Russians were saying that they did this on purpose so they could move them elsewhere. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what the defense ministry says, what they announce, what their version of the story is, what Putin says. But I think that's going to be their argument, that they did this on purpose and it was calculated and so on. Could be true. Especially the telltale sign for me is the equipment. When you have an army that is being pushed out by force, you will always find equipment left behind and equipment that's been destroyed and abandoned. The fact that the Russians actually took all of the equipment with them, or most of it, shall we say, shows that they weren't exactly on the run. You understand what I'm saying? So let's wait and see what happens. I'm also interested to find out what's happening in Kherson. But this situation in Kharkiv is certainly interesting, and I'm most interested in the war crimes or alleged war crimes, because again, when you bomb public infrastructure like electric and water power stations, this is you cannot do this. You cannot do this. And if it's true that the Russians did that, I think it would be very hard to say that it's not a war crime. But as you guys know, the Western media is full of lies, so we'll stay updated with the situation and unpack this tomorrow with Scott Ritter. You guys have been very kind with your donations. I appreciate that very much. I've still got some stuff to tell you guys. I just wanted to say thank you to Kanya, who donated on PayPal. I appreciate it. I don't see a note, but thank you very much for that. And we also have a donation on PayPal from Paul. Thank you, Paul. You're very kind. And again, if you guys want to donate, here's the PayPal QR code. So this is basically something you can scan with your phone camera, and then it will open the PayPal application or CashApp, whichever is good for you. And if you like my work, please consider supporting the show for at least, or as little, shall we say, as $1 a month or €1 a month on Patreon. It goes a long way. You'd be supporting independent journalism, independent media, and I'd be very grateful and appreciative. So we have, I think we're one person away from hitting the goal. So the goal is 850. We're at 849. Let's see who the 850th person will be. I'm sure some of you will step up to the plate and get this done. So thank you guys very much. Remember, I promised you guys when we get to 1,000, God willing, I'm going to have a piñata. and then I would let you guys choose who the piñata will be, which politician. So hopefully we get there. I think we were once at 900, but sometimes at the beginning of the month it goes down. So I'm sure we'll get back there. You guys are great. You're the best fans one could wish for. So I'm and the best supporters, shall we say, and subscribers. So I'm grateful for you, and thank you on Rockfin. We also have a donation here from Jason. Jason says, "This is why I couldn't give two shits to the wind about the Royals." Dunsiger made a brilliant post on Instagram that echoed much of what you're presently discussing. I'll have to check it out, and that made me laugh. It's a good one. So just give me 1 second. This story about Putin and Zelensky is crazy, right? What the hell's going on there? Really crazy. I just wanted to talk to you guys about one more thing. Give me 1 second to pull this up. This is about Ukraine, Iran, the United States, everything. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'm pulling this up. Where are we with this? Right. Okay, I wanted to tell you guys about something that's happening regarding Ukraine, Iran, the United States. This is from The Guardian, and the headline says, "Our lives are destroyed. Families take fight for truth of Flight 752 to the International Criminal Court." So you guys recall that this Ukraine International Airlines flight, number 752, was shot down over Tehran by Iranian anti-aircraft missiles in January 2020. It killed all 176 people on board. I mean, that is absolutely horrific and heartbreaking. Really, it's horrible. I can't even imagine what those families are going through, really. And basically what they're doing now is they're taking this to the International Criminal Court. And the way the ICC works is that, if you have a dispute between two countries, for example, Afghanistan accuses the United States of committing war crimes in Afghanistan, which they did. Even though the United States is not a signatory of to the Rome Statute to the International Criminal Court, Afghanistan is and could take them to trial, right? So that's why, by the way, the Israelis were fuming when the Palestinians were given permission, or shall we say the ICC established jurisdiction and gave them permission to take the Israelis to the ICC. So what these families are now doing, they're basically going to take Iran to the International Criminal Court for killing their relatives and saying that they did it on purpose and it was a war zone and so on. And I want to just give you an idea of who was on board this flight. So among the 176 victims, plus an unborn child, there were 82 Iranians. So most of them were Iranians. 63 Canadians, 11 Ukrainians, 10 Swedes, 4 Afghans, and 3 Britons. Their argument right now, because, the Canadians refused to open an investigation. They said it's too far away. They don't have access to the evidence. And then the Ukrainians took lead of the investigation, but it didn't work out. So their efforts to get justice were frustrated. And now their argument of taking this to the ICC is basically that this was a war zone. They say that the shooting down of the plane followed the U.S. drone strike killing Iranian General Qasem Soleimani on January 3rd, 2020, and a retaliatory Iranian missile strike against U.S. bases in Iraq 5 days later. Therefore, the application to the International Criminal Court argues that an international armed conflict existed at the time, and the downing of the plane was therefore a crime. I think this is very interesting, right? Because you can't go to the International Criminal Court and argue this without saying that, look, guys, there was a war taking place. That's why, there was a war crime. And the interesting thing here, why I find this interesting, is because Iran was attacked by the Americans. They assassinated one of the most important military officials that they have. But they did it in Iraq, right? Which the Americans are occupying. And Iran responded to the Americans in Iraq, not in Iran and not in the United States. You understand? So it's very interesting. Now, why was this plane shot down? I really don't know what to say, man, because this whole situation is so ugly and disgusting. If Trump had not killed Soleimani to please the Israelis, none of this would have ever happened. What the Iranians say why this plane was shot down, tragically, is that you had an officer who thought it was an American bomber. Now, why would this Iranian officer, why would this battery shoot down this plane thinking it's an American bomber? I'll tell you why. Because literally, a few days before, Trump tweeted that he is going to bomb Iran if they retaliate. And here's the tweet. Remember, violence and threatening war is okay if you're a US president, and you can do it on Twitter. This is what Trump said. He said they will target 52 Iranian sites representing the 52 American hostages that were taken by Iran many years ago. Some at a very high level and important to Iran and the Iranian culture. And those targets in Iran itself will be hit very fast and very hard. The USA wants no more threats. So again, just to walk you through this, Donald Trump assassinated General Soleimani. The Iranians fired rockets at an American base, killing no one. And then Donald Trump said, if you threaten us, if you do anything, if you defend yourself, basically, after I murdered one of your top officials, we're going to bomb you. And did you notice he said cultural sites, which is a war crime? I mean, if you go and bomb a monument or a landmark or a UNESCO World Heritage sites, Iran has 35 of them, by the way, which is crazy. There's so much priceless history and culture there. He was threatening to do that. So basically, they shot down this passenger plane, tragically, thinking that it was the Americans sending a bomber after Donald Trump had literally threatened that. So I'm not saying that it completely absolves the Iranians. I'm not saying they did it on purpose, obviously. I really doubt Iran did that on purpose. I find absolutely no truth in that. But what I'm trying to say here is that the Americans basically created this tense situation. They started murdering Iranian officials. They started this conflict, and then they blame everything on Iran. You can't do that. That doesn't make sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not saying it absolves anyone of responsibility. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be compensation or something like that. I'm not trying to denigrate what happened to these families and to it's horrible. But you can't come here and just forget and act like Donald Trump didn't threaten Iran. He said that, and this Guardian article makes no mention of it. They don't mention the fact that Donald Trump was threatening Iran to bomb all these sites. I mean, how can you talk about the situation and omits this, completely omits this? Here's a tweet, by the way, from Professor Marandi. This is what he says. He says, the article is gaslighting, using a tragedy caused by Trump to cover up the United States regime's endless crimes. Won't hide anything. The coup, the Shah's savak, support for Saddam, gifting chemical weapons, targeting innocent civilians with sanctions, terrorism. So, he's making a great point that the United States crimes go way back. I mean, when he says coup, what's he talking about? He's talking about 1953. British intelligence, American intelligence, they got together, MI6 and the CIA, and they couped Iran's prime minister because they wanted the oil in Iran. And then when he says Shah's savak, the savak was the secret police under the Shah. They were extremely brutal. They tortured people. They just horrific repression And, this is backed by America, backed by Britain. And they gave Saddam Hussein weapons to attack Iran. They gave him chemical weapons to attack Iran. So this is a long, long history. Never mind the sanctions. And, you create a tense situation like that. Of course, you're going to have tragedies like this. This is what's so dangerous. And I just want to connect this to Ukraine again, even, this is Ukrainian flight, but let's look at what's happening in Ukraine today. This is why when you have NATO prodding Russia, when you put them together, in a very tense situation like this, you can have tragedies like this, and even on a nuclear level. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you pit powers together like this and you create tense situations, it can lead to nuclear disaster even. And by the way, I don't need to teach you guys, in the Cold War, there were many, many times during the Cold War where, nuclear apocalypse was averted by this, by this much, by a millimeter. You almost had nuclear war between Russia and the United States. So let's not go there. Let's stop, provoking each other. Let's stop this nonsense. Maybe the United States should not be assassinating Iranian officials. Keep in mind, General Soleimani was not just in Iraq for tourism or he was invited to meet the prime minister. He was on an official visit as, basically a diplomat, right? So there are many crimes going on here on many levels. Obviously, he's more of a military official. I'm not saying he was a diplomat. Obviously, he was the head of the Quds force. But you understand what I'm saying? This is an official meeting and an official state invitation. And he killed him. And by the way, don't forget, Soleimani was with 7 other people, if I'm not mistaken. It was 8 people in total. And Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis among them, who is a commander of the PMU in Iraq, the Hashd al-Sha'bi. So really, I would also argue a crime against Iraq, because when you launch missiles and assassinate people on someone's soil, you're not just, committing murder, but you're not just murdering someone and committing a crime, you're also violating the sovereignty of that country, right? So, I just want to say that all of this can be avoided if you didn't have these greedy, warmongering people in power who like to provoke Iran, who provoke Russia, go to their borders, put warships and bases around them. What do you think is going to happen? This is so tragic what happened to these families. It's horrific, and it's so tragic what's happening right now in Ukraine. All of this is unnecessary. Thank you, Tish, for the super chat on YouTube. Tish said that yesterday Pelosi, Schiff, McCarthy, and CIA Director Burns went into the SCIF, which is the sensitive compartmented information facility in the Capitol basement. Your thoughts? What the hell are they cooking up? Yeah, the SCIF is basically a room that's meant for delicate conversations, let's put it that way. Basically, spies and high-level officials meet in a room that is isolated, that cannot be bugged, hypothetically, and is padded and so on. And they plot and conspire in them, right? You'll have that in a CIA station, in an embassy, in the Capitol, as Tish just mentioned. I don't even want to know what they're plotting. That's not good. That is not good. Pelosi, Schiff, McCarthy, and the CIA director in a SCIF. Jesus, something bad's coming. Oh la la, oh la la. Lee says, Richard, please look at military summary channel with Dima, Russian military sources, and use maps to explain Russian moves in Ukraine. Infrastructure bomb to prevent mass Ukrainian movement south. I thought maybe they can explain it with the tactical measures, but I'm not sure, right? That's why tomorrow with Scott, we're going to have an extended discussion and break it down. We'll also have more information. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thank you, Janice. Thank you, Boone. Thank all of you for the super chats. Again, I'm going to read Candace's Richie, oh boy. Yes, indeed. Quite rather. Yes. And thank you also for the new Patreon subscriber. Everybody, show some love to Sheikh Farhan. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm going to play a crab dance for you. Let's go! Yes.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch out.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. Number 9 large.
we got him.
I told myself, I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Let's go. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Sheikh, and thank you to everyone who's supporting the show. Again, if you would like to help me continue my work, please consider donating monthly. You can donate £1 or $1, as little or as much as you would like, and you would be supporting independent journalism. Let's try and build up, a true fourth pillar, right? Let's counter mainstream media by building up independent media, whether you're supporting me or someone else. I'm happy either way, and I appreciate you guys very much. This says 8:49. I think we're at 8:50 now. So thank you guys very much. We've hit the goal. I think we've done it. If I'm not mistaken, we've hit the goal. I'm just waiting for Claudia to hit me up and tell me where we're at. That is wonderful. That is great. Wonderful. Splendid, boy. Bloody good show, yes. Your financial partnership is going a rather long way in my journalistic endeavors. Yes, I thank you greatly, deeply, and I'm rather fond of all of you. Yes, your dedication, your love and support, I could never do without. Oh man. Again, the Queen as a human being. Although the Sex Pistols would say she's not a human being. I don't like to speak ill of the dead. I'm not like laughing, oh ha ha ha, she died. No. God will judge her and whatever. Allah yarhamha, God rest her soul. But I'm not gonna be quiet, and I will criticize the monarchy. I will criticize her reign, and I will keep doing that because this is the moment to do that if there ever was one. Right? I'm not going to just allow this propaganda, mass media bullshit brainwashing that they have. Oh, let's worship some what's so special about these people? Why should I care about them? Why are they being, what's the word I'm looking for? Adorned and basically, having money thrown at them for no reason. What is this? Why are they allowed to even, display so lavishly and selfish and in such a selfish way, an arrogant way, these diamonds that have been stolen and taken from other continents, from other lands and realms, right? Dominions. It's so arrogant, right? They just flex. They go and flex fucking gems and rubies that don't belong to them, that they say, oh, they were gifts. Says who? I swear to God, guys, my head is going to explode. I watched a report. I think it was France 24. I'm not sure. It was mainstream media. And this is just yesterday, and they were talking about these claims. Is it true or is it false? Do these diamonds that Queen Elizabeth, that the crown, the monarchs have on their crowns, are they actually stolen? You know, the Kai-Nur, which is the diamond we talked about, or the Great Star of Africa, are they actually stolen? And then they said no, they were given as a gift according to a Buckingham Palace spokesman. And that's it. They stopped. So okay, I'm just supposed to accept what a spokesperson from Buckingham Palace said. Of course they're gonna fucking say it's a gift. What do you think they're gonna say? Did you ask the country it was stolen from? Did you ask them? Did you ask an independent historian? I mean, what kind of reporting is this? What are you? Are you a spokesperson for Buckingham Palace? God, they call this journalism, man. It's incredible. Anyway, I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. Thank you guys once again for all your support and all your donations. I'm very grateful. Again, I will plug the show one last time. We have Patreon if you would like to donate $1 a month. And there's also PayPal that I'm putting up here. You can scan the QR code and send something there if you would like. And remember, we have merch. It's store.richardmedhurst.com, and I will put it up on the screen very briefly so you can check out the Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. I love that phrase. I love that phrase. I know I came up with it, and I have to say I love it. I'm sorry. It's just great. Take a look, guys. Here we go. You see the t-shirts? Mona helped me do this. I've got the lion. The lion is badass. I have this in the form of a t-shirt. But this is Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. And I have the... When I first launched these, you guys actually... I wanted the hoodie, right? I wanted this hoodie, and I could not buy it because you guys bought out the whole store, and I had to get a long sleeve tee. I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have, but still, I think I'm just going to go ahead and get it and start wearing it here, because I forget to plug the merch. So in any case, my whole point is if you'd like to support the show that way, please do. And there's a lot of other stuff. I'm going to post the link in the chat, and I think Claudia is very kind. She must have done it already. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new, consider subscribing if you want news about Syria, Iran, Palestine, the UK, the United States, international news, the nuclear deal, Julian Assange. This is the spot. This is the spot. And of course, I don't even need to say Ukraine. Right now, top story is Ukraine, and has been for the last half year, right? So this is the spot, and thank you for joining, and I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy to have all of you. I'm quite fond of all of you, and I'm graced by your presence. Thank you very much for attending my address, and I shall resign myself to a good night's sleep. Goodbye, and thank you all. In the last couple of months, you've seen them sanction Russia, and what has that done? It's driven the value of the ruble up, the euro and the dollar are down. Russia has made even more money than it was making before, because the Europeans are still buying the oil, the rest of the world is still buying the oil, and the price of oil and the price of gas have gone up. So even if Russia's selling less oil and less gas, the fact that the price has gone up means that Russia's making more, there's more revenue, okay? So they've come up with a new plan. This is their new brilliant plan. The crude cap applying from December 5th, and the refined products to follow from February 5th, 2023. If you want to go and move Russian oil, you need to get a ship, and you need to get that ship and the cargo insured. The idea is that they will refuse to move your Russian oil unless you bought it at a price per barrel that is below this threshold. I can already tell you one thing: the Chinese are never going to go along with this price cap. A price cap on Russian oil without the price of oil skyrocketing. It's just not happening, man. The EU now wants to replace Russian gas with Israeli gas, right? There's nothing better than some stolen Lebanese gas. And the Israelis are trying their best to block the nuclear deal because, you know, if sanctions are lifted on Iran, Iran is free to sell its oil and gas. Remember, Iran has the biggest gas reserves in the world after Russia. And what do the Israelis do? They straight up just send a giant ship to start extracting the gas. I mean, this thing is a behemoth. You know, Nasrallah, who is the Secretary General of Hezbollah, he threatened them that if they extract any gas before they solve the maritime border dispute, there's going to be a huge response. If Israel messes with Lebanon and starts extracting gas before this issue has been resolved, they're going to strike the Israeli gas rigs. And no company is going to want to come anywhere near that because it's a war zone then. Let me show you this opinion piece I found in The Guardian. The ruble is soaring and Putin is stronger than ever. Our sanctions have backfired. Wow, you don't say. Took you 5 months to realize that? Western sanctions against Russia are the most ill-conceived and counterproductive policy in recent international history. The reality of sanctions on Russia is that they invite retaliation. Putin is free to freeze Europe this winter. He has slashed supply from major pipelines such as Nord Stream 1 by up to 80%. The chief beneficiary is none other than Russia, whose energy exports to Asia have soared, driving its balance of payments into unprecedented surplus. Man, seriously, did I not say exactly all of this months ago? Perhaps after all, we should stick to war. I don't agree with everything in this article, but the premise that sanctions have failed, absolutely. I mean, this was clear from the beginning, man. They're attacking India again for buying Russian oil. Now, again, think of how the United States and the West are. They thought, okay, we're going to sanction Russia, and then Russia's economy is going to be destroyed. And now Russia is moving more amounts of oil towards the east than it did before, and India is buying this up at a discount. The Ukrainian foreign minister, look what he says to India. He says that every barrel of Russian oil delivered to India has quote-unquote Ukrainian blood on it. They're shipping Russian oil to the United States via India. They just send it to India, and then in India they mix it in with something else, right? So chemically speaking, it's not exactly 100% the same as it came in from Russia. Western European countries and the United States want to go lecture India for buying the same oil as them. The West still consuming Russian oil, and then they have the nerve to lecture India for doing the same. Europe needs a gas supplier. Israel, I mean, no matter what it wants to do, it's not just about the money. Let me explain this, man, because the Israelis, for them, it's not that they need the money desperately like Lebanon. They want people to legitimize them, to validate them. They want to have the prestige of being, oh, we're an official energy supplier to the European Union. Remember, when you are supplying resources that are so crucial, like oil, like gas, you know, this gives you power. It is power. And they want to kneecap Iran in every way, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, whatever it is, whether it's foreign investments. Remember how many companies lost billions that they invested in Iran? There is a serious will to cooperate with Iran, but the Israelis hate that. They want to be the number one in the region. Gennady Gatilov, who is Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, that just means that he's